So we are less than a week away from the first All Black squad of 2025 being announced. I've already given what I would like to see as the All Black squad in a video. Also what I feel Scott Robertson may select, but now we've got a different perspective. And that is one of my mother. So she is here with me. Hello, Mum.
Hello, son.
How are you?
Oh, I'm great. Yourself?
I'm very good. Are you excited for the All Black squad?
Nah, it's just what it is. Yeah, let's go, hey.
That was very believable. But what my mum has done is she has put together her 35-man squad of what she would like to see in terms of the All Blacks environment. Now, there are a few curveballs. I will admit that. She's gone unorthodox, un-Barrett-like, I guess you could say, in that regard too. But if you do enjoy and you want to see my mum in more videos, I'll have to pay her. But
Yeah, well.
be sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel. So, Mumsy, we're going to start with your hookers.
Hookers, yes.
Who have you gone with as your three?
Okay. Do I have to say the full name or just last name?
We'll go full name.
Okay. Asafo. That doesn't sound right.
I think that's the first time you've ever said his first name.
Yeah,
Is that
'cause
you
it's
always
always-
just call him Amor.
Amor, yeah.
Yeah.
Asafo Amor.
Mm.
Cody Taylor. So,
You won't get it out with the giggles.
Sammy Sonu. Sammy Sony Takiaho.
So you've gone with the three that a lot of people would say.
Yeah,
Maybe without their first names because it's easier the second.
Mm.
Be interesting this weekend. No cowbells allowed.
Oh, what? Shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's interesting.
They're obviously worried.
Mm.
Yeah. Already
Threatened by the
threatened
noise.
by the noise. Yeah.
But someone who might be able to make a little bit of noise throughout this game are the props in terms of those scrums. Head to head, looking good. Let us know. Who have you got as your props?
Okay. Ethan de Groot,
Mm-hmm.
Tamati Williams, Ollie Norris. Easy names, these ones. Fletcher Newell, Tyrell Lomax, and Tossie.
Basilio Tossi as your last man in there.
Yep.
They're actually the same six that I had.
Are they?
You must have been listening to
No,
my video.
I haven't listened to you.
Ah,
Your video.
what do you mean? So you've gone with similar to what they had last year with the addition of Ollie Norris. So what is it about Norris that you decided was the go-to? Is it just something different or is it from what you've seen throughout the season?
Well, I haven't, to be honest, haven't watched a lot of rugby, but every time I have and he's playing, he's sort of stood out.
And the Chiefs have had that many HIAs that even when he's come off the bench, he's actually been starting pretty early
Yeah.
in the game too. So he's had plenty of minutes. He's doing all right compared to last year. I think he's almost doubled his minutes throughout the season. We'll get a few more in the final as well, of course. Right, so we are going to move on to the locks now.
Right.
And you have gone with 5 in your lineup, whereas for myself, I went with 4. So who are your 5?
Patrick Tui Peluto, Tupo Vai, Fabian Holland, Akoi, Josh Berry.
There you go. Yeah. So you've gone with 5, and I have to address the elephant in the room. You haven't selected the skipper in there, Scott Barrett.
He's not the skipper this year, though.
Is that according to you or according to
According to
Razor?
me.
So what is it about Scott Barrett that you've decided to ditch from your team?
People are going to be annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a captain.
Okay. No, I think that's probably reasonable. I think a few people would also agree with that.
And would he get in the team if he wasn't the captain?
Mm.
Your captain's got to be picked every game. And I'm not sure that he's done enough to get picked every game.
No. He's also the 3rd most penalised Crusader this season.
Yeah. And when he's not playing well, he infringes.
So the captaincy's up for grabs.
Yep.
I know that you've been talking about Arkoi pretty much all season. In
Yeah.
fact, the moment, I know which one it was. It was when he was playing with the ball
Oh, that
on the
was cool.
sideline.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will know that clip, how he was pretty much just juggling it from hand to hand.
Yep.
Mum was sitting there in awe. He also has got a few line-out steals
Yes.
throughout the season. I think
He's-
he's got 6.
He's played well. But, there's a number of locks that could have been picked.
Mm.
But I just don't know their names.
Yeah, you probably know the number and the
Yeah.
team
Yeah.
more than the guys themselves.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, those are your 5 locks, which does mean you've got one less loose forward, as the squad will only consist of 20 players from the forwards. So who have you got in this department?
What, loose forwards?
Mhm.
All right, we've got Artie Savia, captain.
Also, you've got the captaincy on Artie.
Yep.
Is that because of what you've seen from him in the past or because of what he's done with Moana this year?
Bit of both. Probably pretty hard on him to be captain and do what he does, but he's capable. So, and he did captain a few games last year, didn't he?
He had moments. They had a whole heap of co-captaincy going on.
Yeah.
With him, Barrett, and about 3 others. I think both Barretts were actually co-captains at one point.
So we got Wallace Satiti,
Mm-hmm.
Luke Jacobson,
Okay.
Christian Leo Willie, Duplessis Karefi, Peter Larkai, Anton Signer as a backup if anyone gets injured. He's in.
Okay. Young guy, giving him a chance possibly as a bit of a bolter. And I think the biggest concern for him at the moment is just being a young guy with injuries.
Yeah.
You don't really want to pick up too many more. It's like Wallace Satiti in a way. Of course, if he picks up another one, then there'll be a little bit of concern around him. But I think overall you've got a lot of guys who can steal the ball, which is good news. And someone like a Duplessis Karefi, as well as Artie Savia, both top 3 in terms of turnovers won for this season.
So
Luke Jacobson.
You know all those stats, I don't.
Yeah, I have too much free time.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't leave the house, do I?
Luke Jacobson, though, not the game that's just been, but the one before that he missed, they missed him. The Chiefs missed him, and he came back last week and he played really well.
Whole different side. Definitely with Simon Parker also missing, who I have learnt very recently might have a slightly longer term injury than I thought, and I selected him in my All Blacks squad, so that's a balls up on my part.
That is. You didn't do your homework there, did
No. Shouldn't have left the house. But loose forwards, you're happy with all of those guys? Any others that you were thinking about chucking in terms of Finau? I know that he's one who's thrown around a little bit. Any reason behind him being excluded?
Too many penalties. Stupid penalties. Just
Fair enough. No, it's fair. He's given away a few howlers. He loves putting in the big hit, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he'll KO someone and that'll be it. They'll only have 14. So.
For 20 minutes, though, because 20-minute red card. Why you look at me like that? I didn't make the rule.
If it's basically KO someone, well, you should be sent and you shouldn't get any player back.
Well, I think you're on the same mindset as the French were when it came to that rule. Have you been to France? You have, haven't you?
Yeah, but a long time ago.
Oh.
Why?
Oh, I was just wondering. What'd you do in France?
Not a lot. It was a Kentucky tour.
See, in and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you laughing at?
I wasn't that impressed with France, to be honest.
Oh, God, here we go. moving swiftly on before we offend multiple nations in one crack. Halfbacks. Who have you gone with as your 3?
Yeah, these speak for themselves. Cam Roigard, Cortez Ratimer, and Noah Hotham.
Okay. So stock standard.
Yeah.
No one really taking your fancy outside of those 3.
Nah.
Falau Fakatava, not quite. Kyle Preston, name that I've heard mentioned.
Yeah, no, I think they'll pick Hotham over.
Finley Christie?
No, definitely not.
Why not?
Don't like him.
Oh, why? Because he's ginger?
No, he's too slow. His passing, if you time him, he's probably the slowest passer off the deck.
I always talk about it that I do think for Finley Christie, he is slightly disadvantaged.
He takes forever to kick it, though.
He does, but he's got Mark Talia and he's got sometimes Ioane who both want to get in and play halfback.
Yeah, true.
So sometimes I think there's a little bit of hesitation from him when he's not sure whether or not he's allowed to play halfback or whether maybe Talia is going to be sneaking in there. But at the same time, you know, he would be the most experienced if they were to select him out of everyone. I don't think Roigard's quite got the same amount of caps as Finley Christie did. I think Christie's up to mid-20s.
Yeah, but
so do you need that experience up against the French?
No.
No, you go on future.
Yep.
Alrighty.
When's the World Cup?
Couple years.
Exactly.
Oh, that was almost a mic drop moment, eh? A little bit of swagger with that one. First fives. How swaggerous, if that's a word, are you going to be after you tell the people these two?
Why, it's Damien McKenzie and Ruben Love.
Okay. So, elephant in the room. We've already had one elephant being, that sounds mean. I was going to say being Scott Barrett, but I don't mean it in that way. You know, just more so the phrase. Second elephant in the room, Beauden Barrett. Not in the first fives. Any reasoning behind that?
I think he's had his day.
Okay.
I just think we need to look for the future now. His kicking game isn't the best. He hasn't got a big boot on him, and he always boots it straight to the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
You'd say 1 out of 10 kicks are good,
Okay.
but you can't afford that. We never win a kicking game against any of these international teams with Beauden Barrett.
Well, the other side of things that you're looking at, I assume, is Beauden's age. In terms of the fact that he'd be doing all right to make the next World Cup, Beauden, as he's not like getting too old just yet. But I think it's going to get a little bit similar to what we see at times in comparison to Mani Libok for the South Africans, in regards of Libok has received so much stick for his goal kicking, but people have always gone with him in the starting lineup, being the first five, he has to take the kicking. The question is there a way you can squeeze Beauden into a side and find someone else to do the kicking? Hence, maybe either playing him at 15 or moving McKenzie or Love back to 15 and have them taking the kicks. Is that a possibility if they were to select him, or are you going, if Beauden's in there, he has to have the tee in hand and just hope for the best?
Yeah, but you can't do that, can you?
Probably not in some of the big games coming up.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's been a good player, but I think you got to look to the future. You know, you got 2 years to the next World Cup.
Do you like Ruben Love?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though he tried to take out Will Jordan's kneecap?
Yeah, not the best. But he's still got something about him that, you know, he's working on his game. I know he looks like he loves himself and all the rest of it. Hence the name, but no. Yeah, no, we'll go with him.
Alrighty. Well, the fact that you've got those two means theoretically you've got an extra position to be able to use elsewhere. Because normally people have had McKenzie, Barrett, and then they've got Ruben Love. It's one of their outside backs. So we'll move on to your centres. Have you got a Barrett in here?
No.
So you've got rid of 3 Barretts.
Well, he's played overseas. He hasn't played in New Zealand, so why should he just automatically walk back into the All Black squad? He knew that when he went over there, he wouldn't be back. So I think he still needs to prove himself in the New Zealand competition to see how good he is, because the overseas competition, who knows how good that is?
Well, Stephen Donald, he felt like it was very low, although I don't think that was quite the case. Unfortunately, he said it was a low level, the URC, which, as you can imagine, offended a lot of people. But Geordie Barrett, he has been a great player for Leinster. Do you think that in a slight counter-argument, you could say, because he's been playing in the URC and the Champions Cup, he's got a little bit of inside knowledge about some of those guys? Like, he's only played a couple French teams, though, so it really, I don't think will add up that much. Yeah. But, you know, Barrett, give him a few games in the NPC, then chuck him back in, do you think?
Yeah, later on.
So now, speaking of players who have proven themselves in New Zealand, you have got 4 here in your centres. Who have you gone with?
Quinn Tupaia, Daniel Rona, Billy Proctor, and AJ Lamb.
Okay, so going with the local boys, a few Chiefs in there in terms of Tupaia and Rona. Could be a midfield combo that you look at using. Perhaps AJ Lamb, I assume you're playing as that 12 role instead of Geordie Barrett.
Yep.
And then Proctor on the outside, who, fun fact, is another statistic that I found. He is the best when it comes to defenders beaten per 80 minute.
Wow.
Across the whole competition. Even with the likes of Timothy Tavatava-Nawai, that man still goes just that little bit higher with 5.9 beaten per 80 minutes. And he's actually played a lot less minutes than anyone else as well, due to the injury that he had only around the 500 or so minutes. Turning into a bit of a nerd, aren't I?
You are.
Yeah. Doesn't sound right.
Did you do that well at school?
No. No. English could never work out why we had to do the studies of certain things and that.
I was no good at English, so science, yuck.
Yuck, science. I didn't mind science. In terms of, I actually found plant biology quite interesting.
Really?
I don't know why. I think I'm a bit different. But I also learned how to juggle at school for 2 terms in Skills for Life.
Yeah.
And boy, am I skilled in life now because I can juggle.
Do you remember bringing home your spelling words? At primary school. They were all wrestlers, all wrestling names. And when he went back the next day and spelled all these names in front of the teacher, she was horrified because she didn't realise he had picked those ones.
Well,
he got away with it, though.
They were hard names.
They were.
You know, Rey Mysterio, that was not an easy name to spell back in the day for about a 6-year-old. Nonetheless,
sorry.
We will leave it so that it is not a mystery of what you've picked in the outside backs. My mum loves being here, ladies and gents. If you want to see more of her, let us know. Outside backs, who have you gone with?
Will Jordan, Amoni Narawa, Leroy Carter, Balin Sullivan, Timothy Tavatava-Nawai, and Caleb Clark.
I guess the 2 big things that stand out with those selections is the fact that you've got 2 guys who can play 13 in there too. Is that on purpose?
Probably. No, who knows?
Fair enough. Timothy Tavatava-Nawai, probably him instead of Reese, is it?
Yep.
And then Balin Sullivan rather than Mark Talia, I guess. Could have been a guy that might have been in there.
Anyway, hasn't he?
Yep.
So, bye.
Well, so compassionate, I guess you could say. But I don't mind your backs, to be honest, in terms of who you've got in those outside channels, because it's been talked about as well that Scott Robertson might look towards some of those younger guys. Because the likes of a Super Rugby, you know he's going to do pretty well for the All Blacks, right? He's going to give you solid enough games. Every once in a while we have a bit of a rough one, and then every once in a while we'll give you a 9 out of 10 type of performance. But you just wonder, for some of these younger guys, can they really start to cement themselves in that All Blacks kit? You know, some of those guys, I thought Sevu Reece was actually older, but he's only 28.
Really? Okay.
How old did you think Sevu Reece was?
A bit older than that.
I was thinking like 31, 32, if I'm honest, and I was wondering whether or not he'd still get to the next World Cup. I think it's just because he scored so many tries for the Crusaders throughout his time.
Yeah, but you got to be able to defend as well, don't you?
And Amoni Narawa actually tackling at about 93 or 95%, I think, throughout this season, which is quite impeccable.
So, as an All Black selector, do they look at that?
It's an interesting one to think about because I don't really know what Scott Robertson's looking at. There are, of course, they've talked about it multiple times, people who can play on attack and defence. So that's probably a factor that might see a few of our selections go out the window. And then there's also the factor of versatility. But the thing is, how many versatile players do you need when, if someone gets injured, you can just bring someone else in? Like, it's a home series. So you don't really need to worry about having to fly someone over to France because it sounds like they'll have a miserable time. And
compared to Austria and Switzerland, they're beautiful countries. France is all right.
I think you're still digging a bit of a hole.
Well, you know, if I went back there, I mean, there's good things about France, and it's like any country.
It's ups and downs. Well, that is my mum's squad, ladies and gents, for her All Black selection. Honestly, like, I don't think you've done too badly.
Yeah.
You know?
Go easy on me. You know, everyone's got their favourites, so they're going to pick their favourites before they pick the people that should be in there.
And like you said, there are a few guys that sadly you just don't know their names.
No.
And that's probably the hardest part. So I do thank you very much for coming in the video. And of course, be nice, ladies and gents. It's my mum's first full stint on the channel in terms of a longer video, except for the gaming.
Yes.
We've done a bit of that in the past. She was swearing at the TV flat out in that one. But nonetheless, if you did enjoy, of course, be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see her back for her 23-man side once it is announced, do let me know. Of course, let us know what you would change in this lineup in the nice way, of
Yes,
course.
yes.
You know, a couple little adjustments.
I will be reading the comments.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much for tuning in. We will see you all for the next one.